Okay, we'll start our today's proceedings. Okay, so good morning, everyone. I am Faizan Shfi from the Department of Electrical Electronics and Communication Engineering at the Indian Institute of Technology, Dawat. So, before we begin today's proceedings, I would like to take a moment to express my heartfelt gratitude to my professor, Professor Rahul Pandya sir, for providing me with this wonderful opportunity to deliver a talk on quantitative, qualitative, and mixed methods for research. It is truly an honor to speak in front of such a great audience. And thank you. And let's deep dive into the topic for today. So, the outline of our today's discussion is going to be introduction to research methodologies, overview of types of research methodologies, uh, choosing the right research methodology, research paradigm, aim of research, when to use which methodology, challenges and criticisms, and conclusions. So we are going to cover all these topics, subtopics in detail today in this quantitative, qualitative, and mixed methods for research. So let's deep dive into the introduction to research methodologies or introduction to research methods, I can say. So, what are the research methodologies or what are the research methods? So, research methods, we can say it refers to the techniques and strategies used to systematically collect and analyze information, data. So, in order to answer a specific research question, so research methods are nothing but it is the techniques or the strategies, or we can say it is the ways. So, we can use it to systematically collect, analyze the information in order to we are meeting some research in order to answer some specific questions we are dealing with or we have gone through that is of our interest. Okay, so the appropriate selection of research methods depends on the nature of the research problem. There are the three main things for the appropriate selection of the research methods. One is the nature of the research problem, the other is the questions we addressed or we can say the goal of the research, and the third one is the theoretical framework of the study, or we can say the type of the data required. So these are the three main things which helps us for the appropriate selection of the research methods. So now coming back to the importance of these research methods provide a structured approach in collecting, analyzing, and interpreting the data, ensuring consistency and reliability in findings. So this the important what is the importance of the research method? So why we are looking for these research methods? So in the subsequent slides, definitely I'm going to discuss the types of this research methods. So it is actually used in collecting, analyzing, and interpreting the data so that we can ensure consistency and reliability in the findings. So the proper selection of methods ensure integrity and validity of the research. It also aligns research objectives with suitable data collection and analysis techniques. So the integrity over here, I mean to say, this in research we can say the integrity implies that the methods chosen are appropriate and applied correctly, leading to credible and reliable findings. So this is the importance of the research methods. So now coming back to the types of the research methodologies or research methods, we can say I have already informed. I have already this the topic itself described. There are the three methods. One is the quantitative methods, other is the qualitative methods, and the third one is the mixed methods. So these are the three types of these research methodologies. So we are going to dive deep into these all the types in the subsequent slides as well. So firstly, let's talk about these quantitative methods. So this quantitative method, as the name itself suggested, it is more towards the we are looking for the quantity. Okay, so where I have mentioned over here also, it relies on numerical and statistical data to quantify the problem. So it is more towards getting the more number of information about something, about your research problem or something. You are trying to get each and every information regarding that. And the primary aim here is to identify general patterns and predict future outcomes. So this approach is rooted in the positivist paradigm. So I'm going to touch upon these paradigms, research paradigms, in the subsequent slides as well. So, but this quantitative method is more inclined towards this positivist paradigm, where the reality is assumed to be stable, measurable, and observable. Okay, so what is the main why how we are using this quantitative research is quantitative research aims to produce reliable, replicable, and valid results by focusing on structured techniques and large sample sizes. So quantitative research, what actually employs the quantitative research, it includes the surveys. So like we are doing the literature survey in our research when we are going to start our research work in the first So first year we are mainly focused for the surveys, literature surveys we are going to do, and that comes under this part, quantitative research. This quantitative research that I have mentioned over here, also quantitative research employs structured tools like surveys, experiments, and numerical data to test theories. So the goal is to often establish the relationship between the causality between variables. So it actually, the causality refers over here, it is between the cause and effect of the one variable and the other variable. So now coming back to the qualitative methods, the name itself suggested that this qualitative method involves, so the name itself suggested that this is more inclined towards the quality of the work you are going to produce. So it involves non-numerical data to explore concepts, experiences, or social phenomena in depth. So it seeks to understand how individuals interpret or make sense of their world. So it is more, this step is, I think we can say it is after the quantitative, because when in quantitative you are going for the surveys and all the things, then comes the actual work, the qualitative methods. We can say it is, if I can take the example of the researcher, it comes after the one or the second year when he is done with his or her this surveys, and then it comes to the quantitative methods. So here I have mentioned, in contrast to the qualitative research, is aligned with the constructivist or interpretivist paradigm. So I'm going to touch upon these paradigms in the subsequent slides. So the goal is to capture the subjective experience of participants, offering rich, detailed narratives. So in this qualitative methods, we are more inclined towards the subjective experience. The subjective experience here, I mean to say, it is based on some individual experiences and can vary from person to person. This method is often used when the researchers seek to understand social processes, behaviors, or cultural phenomena. So this is what comes under this qualitative methods is social processes, behaviors, or cultural phenomena. So other type is the mixed methods, as the name itself suggests. So it is going to integrate both the things. One is the quantitative and other is the qualitative approach. So by using these things, so what we are going to do actually is we are leveraging the strengths of both to provide a richer, more nuanced understanding. So this is the mixed methods where we are integrating both these quantitative and qualitative approaches. So definitely I'm going to take the examples in the subsequent slides as well regarding all these three methods so that you can understand nicely about these three research methodologies. So the mixed method approach is pragmatic, integrating quantitative and qualitative techniques to capitalize on the strengths of each that I have already mentioned in the first bullet itself. So now coming back, by combining these methods, we can actually do what we are going to do is we are achieve is mixed method research can validate findings, explore diverse perspectives, and uncover deeper insights that might be missed when using a single methodology. So this is the aim why we are going to integrate this both the quantitative and qualitative methods to find, and we are coming up with this the idea of the mixed method research. So we can say this mixed method research is particularly useful in studies like requiring the broad statistical analysis and detailed context-rich exploration, making it a versatile tool for addressing multifaceted issues in various fields. So, okay, so now coming back to the examples for the context of these three things. So as I'm from the engineering background, so I have mainly taken the examples from the engineering field. So you can correlate with your own fields because some of the participants might be from the humanities or other fields as well. So you can correlate it. So, but I'm going to touch upon over the engineering field here to discuss the examples of all the three, this quantitative, qualitative, and mixed method. So let's begin with the quantitative study in civil engineering. So suppose a quantitative study in civil engineering could explore the relationships between the frequency of preventive maintenance and the structural lifespan of bridges across a region using regression analysis. So this, what actually I want to say over here is, suppose if I have the data of 50 bridges, so could be analyzed to quantify how maintenance intervals influence material degradation rates, providing actionable insights for infrastructure management. So actually in the quantitative study, I am going to check for this material degradation rates and all the relevant information, each and everything regarding the lifespan of the bridges. So this is how the quantitative study we are using, quantitative studies used in the civil engineering field. Now, coming back to the qualitative study in software engineering, again, I have taken the example from the engineering background. So, suppose in qualitative study, uh, a software engineer might investigate developers' perceptions of newly implemented agile methodology through in-depth interviews and thematic analysis. So, suppose what actually I'm going to take the example. What actually want to convey over here is if the interviews with the 15 software engineers could reveal themes like adaptability, collaboration challenge, and productivity change. So this actually helps us refine agile practices for specific project types. So when we are going to conduct the interviews of the different software engineers, so we are coming across the adaptability, collaboration challenge, the productivity changes. So we are actually going to uh, make some qualitative software design. So this is how this qualitative studies helped us in the software engineering. So now coming back to the mixed method study in renewable energy engineering. So again, I've taken the example from the engineering field as well. So a mixed method study in renewable energy engineering might begin with quantitative surveys. Okay, so I have already mentioned it in the mixed methods. We're integrating both the things. One is the quantitative and the qualitative. So here in renewable energy engineering, the mixed method is might begin with qualitative surveys to assess the efficiency of solar panel installation in urban areas, but followed by the qualitative interviews with engineers to explore the challenges and panel design and placements in these urban areas as well. Okay, so it is the quantitative survey which helps us access the efficiency of solar panel installation in urban areas. But there are some of the challenges. What are the challenges over the urban areas to install these solar panels? That will be covered by the qualitative interview. So this comes under the qualitative method, and the first one comes. So we are integrating the both things over here in this mixed method study. So here I have taken the example like the survey data from 200 installations could highlight performance trends, while interviews could uncover design constraints such as shading or local regulations. So this I have mentioned over here with the example of this renewable energy. Okay, so the one of the most important thing comes under choosing the right research methodology. So why choosing the right research method matters? So here I have mentioned the choice of research method determines how effectively you can answer your research question. So it is very important to choose the right research methodology. For example, whether you had to go for in the beginning, everyone begins with the quantitative study because the topic is very new to you and you had to explore it in a bit. But sometimes I can say if you are already familiar about something, so you will directly deep dive into the topic itself. So there, the qualitative study is what actually matters, right? So now coming back to the example of this, why choosing the right research method matters. For example, if you are exploring the lived experience of engineers working in high stress environments, I can say, such as those managing critical infrastructures during natural disasters. So in that case, when these we can say the engineers working in the high stress environments, qualitative methods will offer insights into their subjective experience, coping mechanism, and decision making processes that quantitative methods cannot capture. Okay, so this is why choosing the right research method matters. So this selecting the appropriate research methodology is crucial for ensuring that the research question is addressed effectively and rigorously. So the choice should be based, as I have already mentioned in the first slide itself, including the nature of the research problem, the goal of the research, or I can say the questions being addressed. And the third one is the type of the data required, or I can say the theoretical framework as well. So now, what are the factors influencing the methodology selection? So usually there are four factors which influence the selection of the methodology, which includes first one is the nature of the research problem. What is the nature of the research problem on which you are going to work? That is the first factor that influences your selection methodology. And the second one is the research objectives. What is the goal? What is the objective you are going to get the outcome from this research? That is the second this factor regard influencing the methodology selection. And the third one is the research questions. What are the research questions that also influences the methodology selection? And coming back to the fourth point, that is the practical considerations. What are the practical considerations regarding these methodology selections? So now coming back to the first one, that is the nature of the research problem. Quantitative methods are often suitable for research that seek to test a theory or establish cause and effect relationship. That is the causality. So, nature, if the nature of the research problem looks like that seeks to test a theory, so you are going to use the quantitative methods over there. Now, coming back to the qualitative methods, qualitative methods are better for exploratory research. So I'm going to touch upon these, what are this explanatory research in the subsequent slides as well, which comes under the subsection of aim of the research. So here, if qualitative methods are better for exploratory research, where the objective is to gain a deep understanding of a phenomena. And now coming back to the research objectives, it is more inclined towards the goal of the research, what you want to get out of this research. So I have mentioned over here is the goal to measure and quantify variables or to explore concepts and perspectives. So now the third thing is the research question. What is the research question that influences your methodology selection? If you are talking about the quantitative research, the questions could be how much you are going to get out of it, what is the correlation, or to what extent. So this is the research question when you are talking about the quantitative research. But now moving towards the qualitative research questions are open-ended and exploratory, such as how and why. How and why question comes under this qualitative research, and what is the correlation or to what extent, that is to get the deeper insight, it comes under the quantitative research. So now the practical considerations, coming to the fourth factor that is influencing the methodology selection, there comes the practical considerations. So available resources, including time, access to participants, and funding, can impact the choice of the methodology, because sometimes we don't have the access to the available resources, though the resources are available in the field, but we are not able to access that because of some constraints due to our institutes or any other reasons. So in that case, this also creates a great impact on the factors influencing the methodology selection. Okay, so one more important thing over here is your familiarity about your how familiar you are about any particular research method. For example, I have mentioned over here is the familiarity and expertise of the researchers with particular methods can also influence the selection. So it is about how familiar you are about any particular topic. So accordingly, you can switch between your research methodologies, whether you had to go for quantitative method, qualitative method, or the mixed method. So one of the most important thing is research paradigm. So what is this research paradigm actually? How we are going to define this research paradigm? So a research paradigm represents a worldview that shapes how research is designed, conducted, and interpreted. The four major paradigms are: first one is the positivism, another is the interpretivism, the third one is the constructivism, and the fourth one is the pragmatism. So these are the four research paradigms which shapes how research is designed, conducted, and interpreted. So now let's deep dive into each of them one by one. So firstly, we are going to talk about this positivism. What is this positivism? So this positivism is actually, it assumes the reality is objective and can be discovered through empirical observations and measurements. What do I mean objective over here? So objective over here is the research I am looking for. It is based on facts, I can say measurable evidences or universal accepted truths. So this comes under this subsection of this positivism. So this positivism aligns with the quantitative methods. It is more like inclined towards the quantitative methods, as it supports the idea that phenomena can be observed and quantified in a controlled, objective manner. So now, this in positive in this positivism, this research design is based on positivism. Often uses structured techniques such as experiments and surveys to produce generalizable findings. So I have already mentioned this. When you are going to begin your research work, so sure you are going to okay, can you let me, am I audible, sir? Hello? Am I audible? Can anybody let me know about this? Okay. Thank you. Okay, so this is the first paradigm, that is the positivism. And coming back to the second paradigm, which is the interpretivism. What does this mean? So in contrast with the positivism, as it holds the reality is socially constructed and cannot be understood through objective measurement only. So so first one, the positivism are more inclined towards the objective nature of the problem, where it is based on the facts, measurable evidences, or universal accepted truths. But in contrast with the positivism, this interpretivism holds the reality is socially constructed and cannot be understood through the objective measurement alone. So now this interpretivism, as the this positivism was more aligned towards or more inclined towards the quantitative methods, this interpretivism aligns with qualitative methods as it seeks to understand the subjective meanings that people attach to their experiences. So the positivism was more inclined towards the objective measures, but here this interpretivism is understood by the subjective meanings. So what does this subjective meanings over here? It is based on some, I can say, some individual experiences and can vary from person to person. Okay, these experiences vary from person to person. Okay, so now coming back to this interpretive research often involves close interaction between the researchers and the participants with an emphasis on context and depth. So in this interpretivism, we are going to actually have the interaction or the collaboration between the researchers from the different issues, or we can say, and the participants, which we discuss deep dive into the research problem that actually they are working on. Okay, so now coming back to the third thing, that is the constructivism. It is more related towards the interpretivism, but places more emphasis on co-construction of knowledge between researchers and participants. So it is somehow we can say it is like the interpretivism only, but the emphasis here is on the co-construction of knowledge between researchers and participants. So in this case, the knowledge is seen as evolving. The knowledge is seen as continuously growing, or we can say the evolving. It is not assumed to be the static in this constructivism case. So methods include, suppose if I'm going to talk about this participant observations, interviews, and document analysis. So this focuses on understanding the processes by which individuals make sense of their work. Okay, so now coming back to the fourth thing, that is the pragmatism, which comes under the heading of these types of research paradigms. So it is a flexible paradigm that focuses on the research problem rather than a specific methods used. So this pragmatism more inclined towards the mixed methods, I can say. It advocates for using which method, quantitative, qualitative, or mixed, are best suited to the research question. So this in pragmatism, it actually lets us know, it offers us that which method actually you want to use for your research by checking with previous knowledge. So now this pragmatism I have already mentioned as well, mentioned over here. This pragmatism aligns well with the mixed method research as it focuses on the practical implications and outcomes of the research. Okay, so now the most important thing is aim of the research. What is the aim of the research? Why one is doing the research or going for the research? So what is the final aim? What is the goal? The research aim reflects the goals of the investigation and guides the methodology, data collection, and analysis. So actually we are going to do these three things. One is the methodology. With methodology you are going to use the data collection and the analysis. So common research aims include, first one is exploratory research, the second one is descriptive research, and the third one is explanatory research. So these are the three, we can say the main aims of the research is these three. One is the exploratory research, another is the descriptive, and the third one is the explanatory research. So we are going to dive deep into these researches one by one. So let's begin with this exploratory research. So this exploratory research is conducted when the subject is new or not well understood. So I have already mentioned this. When the subject is new, when you are coming in the first year of your doctorate program, I can say the subject is new to you. So what you are going to adapt in that case? So you are definitely going for the quantitative methods. Okay, so that is what I have mentioned over here as well. The goal is to gain insights and familiarity with the phenomena, often using qualitative methods like case studies or interviews. So the example here I have mentioned is investigating the factors that influence social media usage among teenagers, aiming to uncover new themes or patterns. So the social media is continuously, we can say, the modifying their ways, so the individuals are more inclined towards the what are the new themes or patterns that comes under this exploratory research. Now, coming back to the descriptive research, this aims to describe the characteristics of a population or phenomena. This type of research offers involves surveys or observation studies to gather data on what is. So descriptive research is we are going for these surveys and experiments. In this case, or we can say the observational studies to gather data on what is. Okay, so the example I have given over here is definitely this is not from the engineering background, but I have given the understanding for the understanding purpose. I have given the example like a descriptive study might measure the level of job satisfaction among nurses in a particular hospital. So this is how you are going to check the level of job satisfaction, and that comes under the descriptive research. Okay. Now, the most important thing is the aim of the research is the explanatory research. So this explanatory research actually gives us the relationship between variables. This is typically the domain of quantitative research, where hypotheses are tested to determine the cause and effect relationship, that is the causality. I have mentioned already, this causality is more towards what is the influence of the one variable. If you are going to change one variable, what is the effect on the other variable? So this is where explanatory research helps us to determine cause and effect relationships. So example I have given over here is the relationship between socio-economic status and academic achievements using regression analysis. So this is the aim of these researches, in which there comes the three things. One is the explanatory, and the descriptive research. So now let's deep dive into this quantitative research. We can say a scientific approach a bit more. Okay, so what is the origin, and from what are the milestones and all the things we are going to discuss in a bit more. So this quantitative research actually comes from this natural sciences. Example like physics or chemistry people, it was initially developed to study phenomena through empirical measurable evidences. So like I have mentioned this in that where you are going to collect all the relevant, or I can say all the data that you thought that it is going to be helpful for my research. Okay, so the milestones are in 17th century. Earlier uses was the statistics in population and economics. So it was earlier used for statistics in population studies and economics. And in the 19th century, this introduction of randomized trials and experimental methods in medical research. So it was in the 19th century, I can say the late 19th century, it was used for the introduction of randomized trials and experimental methods in medical research as well. So now coming back to the 20th century, widespread use in the social sciences to understand human behavior trends and economic patterns. So this is more inclined towards the humanities people who are working with that. So to understand the human behavior trends and economic patterns. Okay, so now the key theories and influences are this positivism, the belief that knowledge can only be derived from logical and empirical observations that I have already mentioned in the previous slides as well. And the second is the critical rationalism, introduces the concept of falsifiability in hypothesis testing. So these are the key theories and influences in this quantitative research. So definition I have already mentioned in the previous slides as well. This quantitative research is structured and seek to quantify the relationship between variables. It's typically used in studies where the goal is to test a hypothesis, prediction outcomes, and find correlation. So it is more inclined towards the surveys, I can say, numerical data and experimentals. So the key characteristics of this quantitative research is hypothesis driven. Suppose the researchers often begin with a hypothesis based on existing theories or previous studies, and the goal is to confirm or refute this hypothesis by collecting measurable data. So this is the hypothesis driven is the first characteristics of this quantitative research. Now coming back to the second thing, that is the measurable variables. Variables are operationalized to allow for clear, precise measurements. So here we are going to do the measuring of the variables. So now, for instance, I have given the example. Rather than saying that happiness in researchers might measure happiness using a standardized psychological scale, but here I am going to measure it actually using the Likert scale. So here, this happiness researchers might measure happiness using a standardized psychological scale, but I am going to actually measure it over here. So I am going to measure the variables. Okay, so now coming to this deductive approach starts from a theory, develops a hypothesis, collecting data, and then tests whether the data supports the hypothesis. So this is the third characteristic of this quantitative research. Now, coming back to the fourth characteristic, it is the large sample sizes. In case of the large sample sizes, so we are going to get more and more data regarding this quantitative research. So they are actually working on the large sample sizes. The emphasis is on generalizability, requires large sample sizes to ensure findings are representative of a broader population. Okay, so now coming back to the common quantitative methods include, there are the three common quantitative methods. One is the surveys, the other one is the experiments, and the third one is the longitudinal studies. So we are going to discuss all of these one by one. Firstly, coming back to the surveys, these are used to collect data from large populations by using structured questions. So surveys, as we are already, I have mentioned that we are doing the literature survey when we are going to start our research work. So here I have mentioned, if you are going to check for the population, so you are going to do the survey of that population as well. So, for instance, I have given the examples. Surveys can be used to gather information about people's shopping behaviors. Now, coming back to the experiments, these experiments involve manipulating one or more independent variables to determine their effect on the dependent variable. So, in case of experiments, it is more inclined towards the cause and effect relationship, where the variables are determining their effect on the dependent variable. So, for example, I have given over here is an experiment might measure how different teaching methods affect student performances. So now coming back to the third type, it is the longitudinal studies. So these track the same subjects over time, observe changes, and identify trends. So over the time, you are going to continuously track the subjects over time to observe changes and identify the trends. What are the trends? What are the changes that are going to go as you go along the research? So for example, I had given over here a longitudinal study might examine the impact of education on incoming levels over 10 years. So this longitudinal study is continuously observe the changes and identify the trends. Okay, so now what are the core concepts in quantitative research? So here I have not inclined it towards the research problem only. I have added some more things over here. Suppose first one is the hypothesis testing. Like hypotheses are specific testable statements derived from theory. Example, regular exercise reduces stress levels in adults. So yeah, this is true. So now coming back to the variables, one is the independent variable and the other one is the dependent variables. So suppose in independent variables, we can say the variables that are manipulated, example, type of diet in health study, and the outcome is obviously the weight loss. So these are the core concepts in the quantitative research. The third one is the operationalization. So tuning abstract concepts, example, intelligence, into measurable entities such as IQ score. So this is going to be the operationalization, the third characteristic of this quantitative research. So now coming to the fourth one, that is the reliability and validity. Reliability is consistency of a measure, and this validity is whether the research accurately reflects the concept it intends to measure. Now, coming back to the fourth thing, that is the statistical analysis. So techniques such as, we can say, the regression analysis, correlation coefficient, and hypothesis testing. Suppose t-tests, chi-square tests, and all that, this comes under the statistical analysis. So what could be the quantitative data topics? So I have given over some topics here, so you can extend it to the other topics as well by looking into the background of the what you are actually going to work on. So here I have mentioned some topics like a company's profitability, a comparison of primary school children, reading marks, and family backgrounds. So these could be the topics for this quantitative. How rates of secondary infection in a hospital ward changes in winters. So how many newspaper articles mention immigration in a given period? The frequency of particular personality type is, example, introversion or what kind of person he is. So these could be the quantitative research, and you are going to get each and every information regarding. You are actually going to do the survey regarding these things. Okay, so this comes under the quantitative research. So suppose if your purpose is to explore, I can say illustrate and or give rich and detailed information about particular instances. So you are probably going to prefer qualitative research. So if you are going to go for these surveys, experiments, numerical data, or the longitudinal studies, I can say, so definitely you are going to adapt for the qualitative research. So now coming back to the strengths and the limitations. So Strengths, what are the strengths of this quantitative research? The strengths can handle large amounts of data, allowing generalization across populations. High reliability due to standardization and replication. So offers clear objective results. How? Because when you are going to get each and every detail about something, so definitely it gives you the clear objective results and the clear image as well. So now coming back to the limitations of this quantitative research, lacks contextual understanding and deeper meaning behind the data. How? Because when you are going to get enough information regarding something, so sometimes you are going to overlook unmeasured variables or the complexity of the human experiences, because you don't know what to actually get from it. You are seriously becoming the confusion. It creates a bit confusion when you are going to do a lot of research survey or some surveys in the quantitative research for some data. Okay, so now coming back to the this qualitative research, exploring depth and context. So this second type is the qualitative research. So we are going to dive deep into this. The origin of this qualitative research emerged from the fields like anthropology and sociology in the earlier 20th century. Okay, so it actually comes from the humanities subjects for this qualitative research, as the scholars sought to understand human culture and behavior from an insider perspective, amic perspectives. So key theories includes this symbolic interactionalism, emphasizes the meaning making process of social interactions. Phenomenology focuses on lived experiences of individuals. This grounded theory, where a method for gathering theory from data during the research process itself. So, what are the shifts in focus, like we have seen in the quantitative research, where we are actually what are these milestones? So here in mid 20th century, it shifted from objective to more subjective understandings. As I have already mentioned, in the objective, it's based on we are more looking towards the facts, measurable events, or universal accepted truths. But in this subjective understanding, it is based on individual's experience and can vary from person to person as well. So this is what it shifts the focus in the mid 20th century. So definition I have already mentioned in the previous. So yeah, definitely you are going to look for some qualitative work. You are going to, when you are completing your this quantitative research, when you are going to complete your surveys, then you are going to definitely look for some work for the implementation point of view. So I have mentioned over here as well. Qualitative research focuses on exploring and understanding the perspectives and experiences of individuals, suppose, or groups related to an engineering problem. So again, I have given the problem of engineering over here, so you can directly correlate it with your own research from which field you are belonging to. Such as I have given here how researchers, engineers adapt to emerging technologies or collaborate in multidisciplinary teams to solve complex challenges. So it is generally, this qualitative research is generally more flexible than quantitative research and is used to capture the richness of human experiences. So, what are the qualitative research key characteristics? What are the key characteristics of this qualitative research? So, first one is the exploratory nature. It aims to explore phenomena where the little is known. When you have a very little known, because you are not going to do the literature surveys, you are not going to do the surveys in this qualitative research. You are definitely going for the implementation point of view. So there, the little is known, but you are trying to explore more. So that is what I have mentioned over here. Is it aims to explore phenomena where little is known. For example, exploring how people experience social media addiction. So next key characteristic is the context driven. This study is typically conducted in natural settings where phenomena occur. The focus is on understanding events or behaviors within the specific context in which they arise. So this is the second characteristic of this qualitative research. Now coming back to the subjective meaning, third characteristic, instead of aiming for objectivity, qualitative research values the subjective perspectives of participants, understanding their lived experience. So in this case, the subjective meaning, it actually looks for the what is the person to person, how the experience of an individual changes and can vary from the person to person. So it really touches upon the subjective meaning of people for their real experiences as well. Okay, so coming back to the fourth characteristic, as we have seen in the quantitative method, it was the large purposive samples, but here it is the small. Why? Because you are not going to do any literature survey over here, so that is why researchers often use small carefully selected samples, choosing participants who are mostly likely to provide rich, detailed insights about the topic. Okay, now the important thing is what is the common qualitative methods. So first one is the interviews, which comes under the qualitative methods. The second one is the focus groups. Third one is the ethnographies, and the fourth one is the case studies. So these are all the common qualitative methods. So this we are going to discuss in detail. The firstly, interviews is, we know it could be structured, semi-structured, or unstructured, depending on the level of flexibility needed. And researchers, it could researchers could understand the motivation behind certain behaviors. Example, we can say, I have given the example why people choose to quit smoking. So this is interviews, which comes under this qualitative research. Now coming back to the second thing, that is the focus groups. So a small group of people discussing a particular topic, providing insights into group dynamics and shared cultural norms. So which comes under this focus groups, where people discusses interacts with each other to discuss the insights about the different dynamic topics, and to share the cultural norms as well. So the third thing is the ethnographies. Ethnographies in researchers immerse themselves in a community to observe behaviors and interactions in their natural settings. For example, an anthropologist might live in a remote village to study cultural practices. So coming back to the fourth thing, that is the case studies. So we know this case study is a detailed examination of a single subject, such as individual, a small group, or an organization. For example, a researchers may study a tech company to understand its unique innovation strategies. So this is all about this qualitative research. So what could be the core concepts? As we have seen in the quantitative research, the core concepts in the qualitative research could be exploratory and flexible nature, where little is known and you are going to explore more. Okay, so this I can say. It allows for the research design to evolve during the study. And the second thing is the reflexivity. The researchers is aware of their own biases, assumptions, and influence on the research process. They are going to give their own assumptions or influence how they are going to look or tackle the situation, how they are going to look for the problem. So it comes under this reflexivity. So the third thing is subjectivity and context, where the people are definitely touching upon their person-to-person behavior or the experiences while understanding some phenomena or some concepts as well. So now coming back to the fourth thing, that is the data collection techniques. Suppose in data collection techniques, we are going to in-depth interviews, provided detailed personal narratives, and also the participant observations, where we are going to immersing oneself in group being studied to observe behavior and social interactions. Now coming back to the fourth thing, that is the content analysis. So here we are going to analyze what is the content. Either it could be written, visual, or audio data, to identify patterns and meanings from this data as well. So the fifth thing is data saturation. So it refers to the point in qualitative research where no new information is being discovered. So, okay, so like we have seen in the quantitative research, the qualitative data topics might be, so one can relate with their own research. I have given some diverse examples over here. Suppose the consumer perceptions of a company or a brand, it could be the qualitative topic. And the second one is parents' feeling and habits about reading to their children, how they are doing in their lives, or how, what about their, all the things that we can say it comes under this qualitative data as well. Now, other thing is I have given the nurses' knowledge, opinions of infection prevention protocols, that comes under the qualitative data. And fourth one is how newspaper articles describe and represent immigrants. That comes under this qualitative data topics. And the last one is how introverts think about themselves. Okay, so now coming back to the strengths of the limitations, like we had discussed already in the previous cases. So here, what are the strengths? Those strengths is it offers deep, detailed insights into complex issues. And it can uncover underlying motivations, values, and social processes as well. Flexibility in adapting to new findings as research progresses, because you are more inclined towards the implementation part in this case, and you are definitely looking for some outcomes as well. Okay, so what are the limitations of this qualitative research? Researches are not generalizable to a large population. Okay, because sometimes you are going to identify some results in this qualitative research, but it could not be generalizable to the large populations. Okay, you are going to take a small chunk of the work and you are going to work upon that. Okay, so the second thing is the subjectivity and potential bias from the researcher interpretations. So this could be the other limitation for this qualitative research. So, and the third one is difficult to replicate studies. It is very difficult to replicate the studies in this case. So what does this replicable mean in this sense? This quantitative research can be reproduced or repeated by other researchers under similar conditions using the same methods or procedures, we can say. Okay, now coming back to the most important thing, that is the mixed methods, historical and conceptual foundations. So as I have already mentioned, this mixing methods actually integrates both these quantitative and qualitative methods to look upon the strengths of the both. So to enlarge, or we can say the emphasis on the strength part, so we have the people come across this mixed methods concept. So what is the historical development of this mixed methods? So mixed method research emerged in the 1980s and 1990s, fueled by debates over the merits of the qualitative versus quantitative research. So I have mentioned it already. This it is actually the integration between this qualitative and quantitative research. So researchers began recognizing the values of integrating both methods. So what are the paradigm was? So earlier mixed methods, it was the navigating the tensions between positivist, suppose that is more inclined towards the quantitative method, and the constructivist, that is the qualitative paradigm. So influential works in this mixed methods was some John W. Criswell's contributions regarding this using the mixed methods as a legitimate research strategy in social sciences. So this Tashkori and Tadley advocates for the pragmatic approach which focuses on what works better to answer the research question. So actually, by integrating these things, so it actually focuses on what works better for the research problem to identify the research problem. So definition I have already mentioned this, it actually integrates both the quantitative and qualitative approach to address research questions from multiple perspectives. Okay, so the other thing is it acknowledges that both the types of data are necessary to fulfill understand complex phenomena. So actually in this mixed method, so it actually lets us know that this quantitative and qualitative data are equally important for fully understanding the complex phenomena. What are the key characteristics of this mixed methods? Firstly is combining breadth and depth, while quantitative data provides a broader overview. Example, I have already mentioned, we are going to do the surveys where the trends in the population, and this qualitative data offers depth and context, example, personal experience or individuals within the population. Okay, now the triangulation is one mixed methods allow researchers to cross-validate findings by comparing data from multiple sources or methods. Okay, so in this mixed methods, actually, we are going to, when you are going to take the data from different platforms and you are going to actually cross-validate this with the help of this characteristic of the triangulation in case of the mixed methods. So, for example, if qualitative interviews confirm trends seen in survey data, which I have already mentioned, this qualitative research, we are actually doing the survey in this case, this strengthens then the validity of the researchers. It is going to strengthen the validity of the research. So now the other thing is congruent or sequential. In congruent design, both types of data are collected simultaneously. In case of this mixed method, under the characteristic of the congruent, both the types of data are collected simultaneously, while in sequential design, one type of the data informs the other. So, okay, so what are the procedure, the mixed method historical, what are the procedures of collecting, analyzing, and mixing the data are based on three main characteristics across to Morris. In 1991, he has given some important results, or we can say the procedures for collecting, analyzing, and mixing. One is the timing. In timing, the sequence or order of the implementation of the qualitative and quantitative data collection and analysis produces in the study. Example. Okay, so actually in this timing case, it actually reflects what you are going to, either you are going to collect the sequential data or the congruent data in case of this mixed method. And this weighting, the relative importance of priority given to each type data. So it actually emphasizes on giving the importance to the each methods. Then you are going to, when you are going to give the importance to each the method, quantitative and qualitative method, then you are going to integrate those two. So it actually comes under the this procedure of weighting. So another is the mixing. Mixing, I have already informed you, it is about this mixing both the quantitative and qualitative data or qualitative methods to look upon the strengths, deciding on how to mix the methods depends on this purpose design and strategies that are used for collecting and analysis. Okay, so what are the mixed methods? Common mixed methods design include how we are going to, we can say it is more like design is, what are the mixed method designs? So first one is the convergent parallel design. Other is the explanatory sequential design. The third one is the exploratory sequential design, and the fourth one is the transformative mixed methods. So these are the common mixed methods design included in this convergent, in this mixed methods. First one is the convergent parallel design. Second is the explanatory sequential design. Third one is the exploratory sequential design, and the fourth one is the transformative mixed methods. Okay, so now let's deep dive into this convergent parallel design. What this convergent parallel design actually meant. So quantitative and qualitative data are collected and analyzed simultaneously, then the results are compared and interpreted together. So in the convergent case, we are going to interpret and compare the result taken data simultaneously. The data taken simultaneously, then we are going to results and compare, then we are going to compare the results and interpret it together in this convergent parallel design. Though now coming back to the explanatory sequential design, this quantitative data is collected first. So we are going to do, we're not going to collect the data simultaneously. In quantitative data is collected first, then the qualitative data is used to explain the quantitative findings. Okay. So now coming back to this exploratory sequential design, in this case, qualitative data is collected first to explore a phenomena, then quantitative data is used to test or expand upon the initial findings. Now, what are these transformative mixing methods? That is the fourth type. It combines both methods with an explicit focus on promoting social change, often used in feminist or participatory action researches. So this is actually, it combines both the methods, but focuses on promoting social change. What are the social changes which you are going to observe or which you are observing from this combination? So when do we conduct a mixed method study? So the most important question is when you are going to conduct a mixed method study. So when we have both quantitative and qualitative data, when you are both, when you are having the both data as quantitative and the qualitative data in your hand, then you are definitely going to integrate those two data and you can do the mixed method study. Or we can say when one data resource may not be enough to explain the answer of the question. So when you are going to deal with some data, but it is not able to answer you the question that you want to actually get the answer of. So in that case, you are going to do, you are going to integrate these things when one data resource may not be enough to explain the answer of the question. So now coming back to the third thing, when we want qualitative research to help in explaining quantitative findings, when qualitative research, we need the qualitative research observations to explain or help in explaining the quantitative findings. In that case, we are going to conduct the mixed method studies. Okay. The fourth one is want to provide alternative perspectives in a study. Okay, the fifth thing is when we want to generalize findings to a large population. So when you are going to generalize the findings to a large population, in that case, the mixed method study you are going to opt for. Okay, so what are the reasons for using the mixed method research? So first one is, as I have already mentioned in the previous slide, is because of the strengths of both quantitative and qualitative approach. To get the strengths, to get the more strengths of both these individual studies or methods, to combine the strengths, that is why we are going for this mixed methods, to provide a more holistic view of the research problem. Okay, so this actually is going to enhance the validity and reliability of findings by cross-verifying results from different methods. This allows researchers to explore a phenomena qualitatively and then confirm findings quantitatively, or vice versa, we can say. So in that case, this is the reason we are going for this mixed methods research. Okay, so what are the steps we can say for conducting a mixed method research? So first step includes, according to the G. S. Jinping's mixed method study, there are 8 basic research steps, so which are used while conducting this method and can be illustrated as follows. The step 1 is determine if mixed method research is the best approach to address the research problem that you want to study. Okay, so when you are going to opt for, as I have already mentioned, the 3 things, what are the suggestions to opt for this research problem? One is the nature of the research problem, the questions being addressed, and the third one is the theoretical framework of the study. So if it determines if the mixed method research is best approach by taking upon those suggestions, then you can go for these steps for conducting the mixed method research. The second one is select a specified mixed method design Either it could be exploratory, triangulation, or embedded. And the third thing is, what are the detailed mixed method purpose statements for your study? If you are going to opt for this mixed method study, how it is actually going to help in your study as well. So you have to answer the question, and then you can opt for this mixed method research. Now, coming back to the fourth thing, which is the write a specific research question to address quantitative and qualitative aspects of your study. So you had to firstly find out how this quantitative and qualitative is going to help and what it could give if I'm going to integrate both of these things. So that is what I have mentioned over here. So now choose the quantitative and qualitative data to collect, and then you can mix those things to get upon the strengths of the both, and it will comes under the field of this mixed methods. So now the sixth one is draw a visual diagram of the procedures in your study. So you have to draw your diagrams and procedures of your study. So how you are going to carry upon this as well for your future studies as well. So now the seventh thing is collect and analyze the quantitative and qualitative data for your study. This is the major part of the study, which is definitely going to how you are going to collect and analyze data for your study to carry upon the research for your future work. Okay, now the last thing is write the final report reflecting the mixed methods design you used in the study. So these are the 8 steps for this mixed methods. So what are the strengths and the limitations of this mixed methods? So, okay, so strength is definitely we are going to integrate the two things, where two methods, one is the quantitative and the other is the qualitative method. So it provides a more comprehensive understanding by capturing both the measurable and experiential aspects of the research problem. Okay, so it allows more robust conclusions by integrating both statistical data and personal narratives. So actually, we are going to integrate the subjectivity and objective nature of the study. So it reduces research bias by using multiple methods. Definitely, we are going to use both the methods and integrate them, and it reduces research bias by using multiple methods as well. So what are the limitations? Okay, sometimes this mixed method, the integration is not very easy. So it is going to be the one of the limitation, because it becomes, when you are going to integrate two different, there are its own practical challenges. So it becomes more complex and time consuming to design, implement, and analyze in case of these mixed methods. Okay, so requires expertise in both qualitative and quantitative methods. So you need to have the definitely expertise in this field. Then you are only going to go for the mixed method. You are going to integrate these two types. Okay, so my present challenge is integrating or reconciling conflict results. Definitely it is going to be, if you are not very much familiar about those two, so then only you can you are going to integrate the things. If you are not very much familiar about the previous things, then you can not go for integrating or reconciling conflict results. Okay, so what are the case studies of this mixed methods? So the case studies, firstly, again, I have taken the engineering research problem over here. So a mixed method study might explore how the implementation of a new energy system, HVAC system, reduces energy consumption in commercial buildings. So how, actually, I have given the example also. Suppose the quantitative data could be gathered through sensors and utility bills to measure changes in energy usage, while the interviews with facility managers and occupants might uncover the qualitative insights about their experiences, challenges, and satisfaction with the system. So when you are going to explore, or you are going to install this new energy system, HVAC systems, then how you are going to reduce energy consumption in the commercial buildings. So in that case, you are definitely going to go for both the studies, qualitative data, which helps us to gather the information through sensors and utility bills. And then you have to go for the interviews and the facility managers, occupants, what challenges and the experiences they are facing, actually, in that case. So coming back to the second case, okay, so I have given the case study second here regarding this educational research. In educational research, a mixed method study could investigate the impact of new teaching strategies on student outcomes. Okay, so in educational research, actually, this mixed method research could investigate the impact of new teaching strategies on the student outcomes, how the students is going to perform, or how the outcome he is producing. So you are going to definitely investigate the impact and change the strategy according to the outcomes as well. Okay, so the second thing is quantitative data might include test scores to access improvements, while qualitative data from classroom observations or interviews could explore students and teachers' attitude towards the new methods. So how they are going to tackle the new methods. that comes under the qualitative data. And this quantitative data includes the test scores and access improvements, how you are improving, how your students is improving in the field. Okay, so now coming back to this comparison of quantitative, qualitative, and mixed methods. So firstly is the first aspect is the philosophical foundation. So in the philosophical foundation, positivism assumes a single objective reality that can be measured and quantified. It comes under the quantitative methods. Now coming back to the qualitative method, interpretivism and constructivism assumes multiple reality is based on individuals or social perspectives. So positivism comes under the quantitative method, and the interpretivism and constructivism come under this qualitative methods in this case. And then the third method is the mixed methods, in which the pragmatism focuses on practical solutions and uses both objects and subjective realities. Now, the second aspect is the research focus. So in quantitative methods, this focuses on measuring and quantifying variables, or looking like patterns, standards, and causality, or I can say you are more looking towards this surveys, experiments, and numerical data. But in case of qualitative methods, your focus is on exploring deep subjective meanings and understanding complex social phenomena. So in mixed methods, as we have already mentioned, that this mixed method combines both to address a research problem holistically using both numbers and meanings. Now, the third aspect is type of data collected. So how we are going to collect the data. In case of quantitative methods, the data could be numerical, collected through like structured tools like surveys, experiments, or official statistics. But in case of qualitative methods, it could be narrative or descriptive, collected through unstructured or semi-structured tools like interviews, observations, and open-ended questions. So in case of mixed methods, it integrates actually the both, collects numerical and descriptive data to give a comprehensive understanding of the research problem. Okay, now coming back to the aspect, data collection tools, this quantitative methods actually it includes the surveys, questionnaires, structured observations, experimental methods. And in case of qualitative methods, it comes in interviews, focus groups, case studies, participant observations, and the field notes. Now coming back to the third thing, that is the mixed methods, it combines actually the tools from both approaches, such as surveys and quantitative, which comes under the quantitative methods, and followed by the interviews, where you are going to do the structured, semi-structured, or unstructured interviews, and that comes under the qualitative method as well. Now coming back to the aspect is sampling method. This sampling method is probability sampling, focus on random samples to ensure generalizability, large sample sizes. And other one in this qualitative methods, there comes the non-probability sampling, where the purposive and snowball or convenience sampling to focus on depth, small focus sample sizes. Where in the quantitative methods, we are focusing on the large sample sizes, and in these qualitative methods, we are focusing on the small focused sample sizes. So it actually combines large quantitative samples with small purposive qualitative samples. So now the analysis aspect, analysis method. So here in the quantitative methods, we are going to do the statistical analysis, and in this qualitative methods, we are going to do the thematic analysis, such as we are going to use codes, categorization, and thematic analysis. So definitely in the mixed methods, it is going to integrate both the statistical and the thematical analysis methods to interpret the data. Okay, now coming to this aspect objective, to test a hypothesis, measure variables, and make generalization about a population. If our objective is to test a hypothesis, measure a variable, and make generalization about the population, where definitely it comes under the headings of quantitative methods. But if you want to understand meaning, experience, and perspectives in a rich, detailed context, so the qualitative methods is where it actually matters, and it helps us in doing the research. So similarly, in this mixed methods, we are going to integrate both these things, and it helps us to understand, to use both measurable data and in-depth insights to provide a comprehensive analysis of the research question. So now the other aspect is the approach. So in case of quantitative methods, you are going to look for, or you are going to adapt for this deductive approach, where you start with a theory or hypothesis, then test it through data collection and analysis. And the second one is the qualitative methods. In this case, you are going to go for inductive methods, starts with the data collection, and theory emerges through observation and analysis. And in this mixing method, you are going for this iterative method where you combine both these deductive and inductive approaches with data collecting and analysis feeding into each other. Okay, so now what is the role of a researcher? The aspect of role of a researcher. The role of the researcher is it should be objective and independent from the research. It should be more towards the objective. In case of quantitative method, it should be more towards the objective oriented and minimal interaction with the participants to avoid the bias. So biasing should not be there. It is the role of the researcher, and it comes under the quantitative methods. Now the other thing involves this qualitative methods involved and subjective researchers interact with participants and are a part of the research process. Okay, now the thing is, researchers play multiple roles integrating both objective and subjective elements depending on the phase of the researcher. So it comes under the mixed methods. Now, aspect comes under the aspect of the common fields of use. So quantitative methods we are using in, again, I have taken examples from the engineering field only, so you can relate it with your own fields. In case of quantitative methods, it is used for road durability analysis, in electrical engineering, solar panel efficiency evaluation, and in mechanical engineering, machinery vibration analysis. And coming back to the civil engineering, in case of qualitative methods, coming back to the civil engineering, it comes for perceptions of green certifications, challenges in grid integration, maintenance challenges, observation in case of mechanical engineering. So now coming for this mixed methods, in case of civil engineering, it will help us smart city infrastructure studies. So it helps us to study the smart city infrastructures. In electrical engineering, LEDs, street light retrofitting, it will help us in something like that. And mechanical engineering, robotic arm reliability assessment. So what is the purpose of inquiry? The last aspect of this quantitative qualitative mixing methods are purpose of inquiry. So in quantitative methods, it explains the explanation and predictions to explain the relationship between variables and predicted outcomes. That is, it explains the causality between the variables. And in case of this qualitative methods, understanding and interpretation, to explore the experiences, meanings, and phenomena in detail. In case of these qualitative methods. Now coming back to the mixed methods, integration and expansion. So to answer research questions that require both statistical and contextual understandings. Okay, so I have already discussed this in the previous slide, is when to use which methodology. So choosing the right research methodology. So I have given the examples. Suppose quantitative research is best suited when the goal is to measure variables, predict outcomes, or establish causality. Suppose I have given the example, it is appropriate for research questions such as what is the effect of X on Y, or how much do variables A and B correlate. So in that case, you are going to opt for this quantitative research. So example I have given over here is a researcher studying in the correlation between social media use and anxiety might use a large scale survey to quantify the relationship between time spent on social media and self-reported anxiety levels. So in that case, we are going to adapt for this quantitative research. Now coming back to this qualitative research, it is useful for exploratory research that seeks to understand underlying meanings or experiences. It is suitable for questions like how do individual experience X, okay, so or what are the processes behind Y. So example I have given over here is a study exploring the lived experiences of refugees might use in-depth interviews to understand their emotional and psychological struggles. So what now coming back to the mixed method research, it is best when neither quantitative nor qualitative method alone are sufficient to fully address the research problem. In that case, we are going to opt for this mixed method research. It is appropriate for research that requires both breadth and depth. So we are actually going to look upon the strengths of both these things, and we are opting for this mixed method research. Okay, now example is a study examining student performance might start by collecting test scores. Suppose it comes under the quantitative data, and then conducting focus groups or to understand students' attitude and behaviors, that comes under the qualitative. So in that case, we are going to integrate this data to get the mixed method research. So, okay, now coming back to the conclusion, the end of this today's presentation, the quantitative, qualitative, and mixed method research offers each unique strengths and addresses different types of research questions. So understanding the procedures of collecting and analyzing the quantitative and qualitative data will enable us to reach an effective research design using mixed method research. And by integrating those approaches, researchers can offer more robust, well-rounded conclusion that account for both measurable and nuanced human experiences. So this is all about today's discussion. We have done this mixed quantitative, qualitative, mixed method for research. So this was all from my end, and thank you all. I would like to take the questions from your side as well. Thank you.